Van Damme's early movies didn't just build his action career. From No Retreat, No Surrender to Lionheart, the stories behind these films were packed with real contact, rush fixes, and low-budget chaos. So what was really going on before these movies hit our screens? Let's find out. These are 10 weird behind-the-scenes facts about Van Damme's early movies.
It's the stuff martial arts films are made of. Comic book heroes with supernatural abilities. But the most unbelievable part of Bloodsport.
Bloodsport became one of Van Damme's defining films, but canon didn't see it that way at first. When the first cut landed, the studio didn't like it. They saw it as another cheap martial arts movie that might not be worth the hassle. So they were thinking about shelving it and dumping it straight to video and moving on. For Van Damme, that would have been an absolute disaster, so he fought for it. He worked closely with the editors to tighten the film, sharpen the pace, and make the fight scenes hit harder. With the new cut, the film started to feel less like something Cannon wanted to be and more like something with a real pulse. And Cannon agreed to a limited theatrical release, and the rest is history.
You wanted to be a champion. You're good. I get better.
No Retreat, No Surrender gave JCVD one of his first real chances to stand out. During the opening dojo fight, he was told to throw a jumping spin kick and pull back at the last moment. He misjudged it and knocked Timothy Baker to the ground. The stunt team had to explain to him that fight scenes didn't need real impact to work. Camera angles, timing, and reactions could sell the hit without someone actually getting hurt. JCVD later explained that in Hong Kong movies, stuntmen were expected to take some real hits, and Corey Yuen understood that side of it. But the American cast and stuntmen weren't exactly thrilled.
He's on a desperate mission to rescue a cyborg who holds the secret for saving the world.
Van Damme's movie Cyborg didn't start as some big science fiction plan. It came out of Cannon Films falling apart. The studio had been developing a sequel for Masters of the Universe and a live-action Spider-Man movie, but both projects collapsed when Cannon failed to pay the licensing fees to Mattel and Marvel. Millions and millions of dollars had already been spent on sets, costumes, and prep in North Carolina, and Cannon didn't want all that money sitting there doing nothing, so they turned to Albert Pune and asked him to salvage something that could be shot quickly and cheaply. On a flight from North Carolina to Los Angeles, Pune came up with Slinger. Pune was not convinced that Van Damme would fit the tone of the film he wanted to make, but Cannon insisted, and so they gave him an extra day to rewrite it around him.
A champion from the West.
Now that you've beaten everyone there is to beat, what's next?
Kickboxer started with one of the most mental revenge ideas in the whole of Van Damme's career. In the early version, Tong Po lost the match in the US and then broke into Kurt Sloan's home for revenge. When he enters the house, Kurt's mother was supposedly baking cookies, and Tong Po kicks her in the face and kills her. Sheldon Lettish thought the idea was absolute crap, so he pushed it in a different direction. Instead of Tong Po killing his mother, the revenge became about Kurt's brother getting badly hurt after a fight in Thailand. That gave the film the cleaner revenge angle it needed, without turning Tong Po into a biscuit-based home invader.
But he never expected to be a hero.
No Retreat, No Surrender had another rough moment during the climactic tournament fight. Real kickboxing champion Peter Sugarfoot Cunningham was playing Frank Peters. During the scene, Van Damme threw one of his helicopter kicks that was meant to hit Cunningham in the chest, but it landed higher than intended and caught him in the head. Cunningham went down, and Van Damme broke character to try and help him, but that ruined the take, so they had to redo it. Then Van Damme knocked him down again. This time though, he stayed in character. That's the sort of thing that sounds brilliant if you're watching the finished film, but it's absolutely rotten if you're the poor sod getting kicked in the head twice for the same scene.
Send you undercover into Harrison as a prisoner.
Van Damme is Burke.
You're not gonna last too long.
Death Warrant had one of the strangest filming locations in Van Damme's early run. The prison wasn't one neat set. Part of it was built in real locations, including the basement of the Ambassador Hotel. That basement became the prison laundry room, the kitchen, and the staff dining hall. The funny thing is, upstairs, Pretty Woman was filming at the same time, so Julia Roberts had the glossy rom-com while Van Damme had the prison violence downstairs. Then it gets a bit darker. The scene where Sergeant DeGraff dies in the prison kitchen was filmed in the exact location where Senator Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated.
Just tell her Joshua's here with someone I think she'd like to meet.
Lionheart had its own fight scene problem during the swimming pool fight. Paco Prieto accidentally caught Van Damme in the face with a kick. Filming stopped for around 45 minutes while Van Damme recovered, then the shoot carried on. Albert Pyun's original version of Cyborg was nothing like the film we saw on our screens. He envisioned it as a near-silent, black-and-white heavy metal opera with minimal dialogue and an operatic rock score, but the studio hated it. Then came the test screening. Out of 100 audience members, only one responded positively. The rest laughed through moments that were meant to be serious, especially during the final fight. Meanwhile, Van Damme had just finished Kickboxer in Thailand when Letish told him how bad the reaction was. He cancelled his holiday, returned to LA, watched the film, and he was horrified. So he pushed Canon to let him fix it. So they set up 2 editing rooms with Van Damme working on the action while Letish handled the dialogue scenes. Now coming back to No Retreat, No Surrender, because it had another problem on the very last day of filming. Ron Parnell, who played Ian Riley, was a Seattle karate champion, and his character was meant to lose to Van Damme in the finale, but Parnell didn't want to lose, so he told Keith Strandberg. He was worried it would damage his reputation as a real tournament champion. So the production decided to change the fight. Ivan would cheat by removing the turnbuckle pad and choking Ian with the ring ropes. That way, Ian didn't lose clean. He only lost the fight because Ivan fought dirty. Now, one of the craziest Cyborg behind-the-scenes moments came from the sewer fight. In Pyun's original version, Van Damme would perform the splits between the 2 concrete pillars while Ralph Moller walked underneath him. Then Gibson would slice his head in half. Pyun even spent part of the budget creating a fake head for that effect, with blood spraying across the tunnel walls. But during the re-edit, Van Damme toned it down, so the final film kept the ambush but none of the explicit violence Pyun originally shot. Then the MPAA added another problem. The film initially received an X rating for excessive violence, so more graphic moments had to be cut, including scenes from the village massacre.
Of destruction rises the warrior of a new age.
So that's 10 weird behind-the-scenes facts about Van Damme's early movies. It wasn't exactly a nice clean climb to the top. These films had dirt on them, and somehow Van Damme didn't just survive that early run. He came out looking like the next big action star. Thanks for watching, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.